The chamber pulsed with starlight, its domed ceiling reflecting constellations from 1,000 known systems. It was the heart of the Galactic Council, where war and peace were balanced on words, where pride lived in opulence and arrogance wore diplomatic robes. Today, that pride was pointed squarely at the newcomers from Earth. They've tamed no world beasts, no hive intelligences, not even a single native biothreat worthy of Council classification, drawled General Rockzier, a towering figure of scaled red skin and sharp eyes. He gestured dismissively toward the human delegation as his voice echoed across the chamber. Their apex predators are unarmed mammals and ocean dwellers too dim to even coordinate a hunt. Laughter spread like a ripple among the alien representatives. Some tried to suppress it, others indulged fully. Only a few watched the humans with a measure of silent caution. Captain Reina Holt did not flinch. Her eyes, pale gray and framed by a sharp jaw and braided dark hair, remained fixed ahead. Her expression was unreadable, somewhere between indifference and buried violence. She stood with arms clasped behind her back, boots grounded as if she were standing on a battlefield and not a polished diplomatic floor. Next to her stood Dr. Crew, a thin, violet-skinned alien biologist whose fascination with Earth bordered on obsession. His gaze darted nervously between his own council seat and the containment crate that the humans had brought with them. Black metal, inscribed only with a small emblem, a stylized mustulate mid-snarl. From the upper tier, Commander Vala the Rex observed silently. Silver-robed, regal, and revered for her sharp intellect, she had advised the Council for over a century on interspecies threats. She had studied hive wars, dismantled terraforming conflicts, and written the core doctrine on biological warfare ethics. Yet even she had never seen a species quite like the humans. She leaned forward slightly, her multifaceted eyes narrowing. "Captain Holt," she said, voice low but firm, "you came to present peace and cooperation, and yet you bring a locked containment unit." "Demonstration," Holt replied, her first word of the session. "Of what?" Holt stepped aside, giving a subtle nod to her second-in-command. The officer tapped a sequence into a wrist module. With a mechanical hiss, the locks on the container began to disengage. The chamber quieted. Laughter ceased. Even General Rockzier looked on with wary curiosity. The crate door lowered. Out stepped a creature barely the size of a council diplomat's thigh. It moved low to the ground, with coarse black and white fur, thick shoulders, and claws that scraped audibly against the polished floor. Its eyes were small, black, and unblinking. It sniffed once, then snarled. Rockzier scoffed. That is your apex." The honey badger lunged. Security barely reacted in time. A force shield shimmered into existence between the human delegation and the council floor, but not before the badger had already closed the distance to one of the general's personal guards, a hulking predator species bred for frontline assault. The guard raised a tri-blade and struck. The honey badger didn't dodge. It didn't retreat. It crashed into the blow, claws ripping at exposed throat tissue before being flung across the floor, landing in a roll, then charging again with no pause. Blood sprayed. Screams followed. Panic surged through the chamber. Holt didn't move. The guard fell, gurgling. The badger, now blood-slicked and breathing heavily, turned to face the other aliens, unafraid of the weapons drawn and the kinetic fields aimed at it. It growled, not a roar, not a threat, a sound of indifference, of savage defiance. Holt raised her voice. "Calm, clear. You mocked us because we don't control our predators. You misunderstood." The honey badger lunged again, this time at the shield itself, striking it with enough force to leave a distortion ripple in the energy field. "We don't control them," Holt continued. We survived beside them. Vala stood, her breath caught in her throat. This wasn't an attack. It was a statement. A containment team entered from the side, tranquilizers loaded into gravity rifles. Holt raised a hand to stop them. The honey badger paused, turned its head, and slowly padded back toward the crate. Its claws clicked on the floor, one foot dragging slightly. Blood trailed behind it, but it held its head high. Before entering the crate, it turned to face the general again and bared its teeth in what was unmistakably a smile. Then it vanished into the shadows of its container. The door sealed. Silence reclaimed the chamber. Dr. Kiru exhaled shakily. You enhanced it? Holt shook her head. No, we just brought it angry. Rockzier stood now, a hand pressed against the ragged gash in his side, fury dancing behind his narrow eyes. This is a violation of the Council Accords. We were invited to present our native fauna. You requested demonstration. Holt replied, her tone stripped of any apology. That was the smallest we could bring without sedatives. Vala's mind raced. She'd read the dossiers. Earth was rich with chaos. Species evolved not through dominance, but through relentless adaptation. Prey that became predators. Mammals that ate venomous snakes for sport. And now this feral monstrosity immune to pain, immune to fear, and worse, intelligent in a brutal, instinctual way. You weaponize madness, Vala said softly, more to herself than anyone. No, Holt said. We learned from it. Vala met Holt's eyes. For the first time in her long diplomatic career, she felt unease crawl beneath her skin. The humans had brought a message, and it was not one of peace. Not exactly. It was a warning dressed as compliance. A declaration cloaked in performance. Dr. Carew, unable to contain himself, stepped toward Holt. What else do you have on that planet? Holt tilted her head slightly. What we have is irrelevant. What you have is curiosity. Vala felt the shift in the room, a change in gravitational pull, not of mass, but of perception. The Council, once certain of humanity's inferiority, now sat rattled by a beast barely larger than a backpack. Not a superweapon, not an engineered virus, but a natural product of Earth. One that did not fear death, that did not flee wounds, that did not recognize limits. As the chamber emptied in uneasy silence, Holt turned to her second-in-command. Pack it up. We're done here. Kiru lingered, his gaze fixed on the crate like it might move again. Captain, do they all act like that? No, Holt said as she walked past him. Some are worse. Behind her, the lights in the chamber dimmed. Maintenance drones cleaned the blood off the floors. The container was wheeled out without fanfare. In a shadowed gallery above, Vala remained seated long after the others had gone. Her thoughts spun faster than her years could contain. Not because she feared the humans, not exactly, but because she finally understood they did not rise to power through conquest. They endured. They suffered. They evolved beside monsters not by slaying them, but by becoming something worse. And now the galaxy had invited them in. Whatever happened next would not be peace. Not really, but it would be fascinating. They didn't call another council session for 48 hours. That had never happened before. Not in the long, bureaucratic history of galactic governance. After the incident, the corridors buzzed with whispers in dozens of languages, and yet no one dared name the creature that had caused it. It was too small, too wild, too unquantifiable. Commander Vala the Rex spent the intervening hours in her private chamber, watching the footage again. Pause. Rewind. Slow motion playback. It wasn't the speed of the thing that disturbed her. It wasn't even the savagery. Many worlds had beasts capable of carnage. What unsettled her was the intent. The way it struck where armor was weakest. The way it paused after each kill, calculating its next movement. The way it smiled, it had no fear of death. That wasn't bravery. That was something more primal and more dangerous. A living assertion that death itself had no leverage over it. She had seen warlords. She had seen hive minds. This was something else. The knock on her door broke the silence. "Come in." Dr. Kiru entered, breathless, eyes wide. He hadn't slept. Vala could tell from the twitching at the corner of his mouth and the frenzied sheen in his gaze. "It's gone," he said, voice hoarse. She stood. "What?" "The honey badger. Containment breach." "Ow!" He handed her a datapad. Surveillance footage. 2 guards checking the crate. The badger lay still inside, motionless, dead. Then it opened its eyes. There was no warning. One guard's throat was gone before he could scream. The other tried to run, The creature rode him to the ground, tore through his spine with methodical indifference, and disappeared into the vent system in a blur of claws and blood. It had played dead. Vala looked at Kiru. "How long ago?" 3 hours. Internal sensors are offline in half the wing. It's disabling them. We've lost 6 already. 6. Vala felt her heart tighten. Why wasn't I informed immediately? Your clearance was bypassed. Someone classified it as a containment drill. Someone. Kiru's lips tightened. Someone human. Vala didn't speak for a moment. She stared at the blank monitor, her thoughts folding inward. "Where is Holt?" Kiru hesitated. "Unaccounted for." The station's lights flickered. Vala turned and strode out of the room. In the central command center, chaos reigned. Security teams barked orders. Sensor feeds glitched and fizzled. Every few minutes, a new scream echoed through the audio channels, followed by static and silence. "Multiple sectors compromised," one officer said. "Something's moving fast. Ventilation systems, maintenance shafts. We can't isolate it." Vala's voice cut through the noise. "Have you attempted electromagnetic suppression?" "We tried. It adapted, avoided the traps after the first attempt." "Adapted." Another screen blinked red. "Subdeck Gamma. 2 more down." She turned to Kiru. "It's not random. It's targeting infrastructure." He nodded slowly. It chewed through the power relay in Delta Deck. Then a secondary coolant line. Vala felt her stomach sink. "It's disabling our defenses." Before anyone could answer, another alert blared. This one louder. "Urgent." The mainframe AI triggered a lockdown. And still, the creature moved. At the heart of the diplomatic wing, deep within the reinforced walls, Holt stood in front of a large window, watching the distant swirl of space. She held the datapad in one hand, slowly swiping through security feeds, her face unreadable. A low growl echoed through the hallway behind her. She didn't turn. The creature appeared from the shadows, blood-matted fur glistening in the low light. It limped slightly, favoring one side, but its eyes were sharp, aware, still crackling with the cold heat of unyielding aggression. "Stay close," Holt said. The honey badger circled her once, then settled at her side like a loyal soldier awaiting orders. The door hissed open behind her. Vala entered slowly, alone, weapon drawn. "I should have known," she said softly. Holt didn't answer immediately. "You knew it would escape." "Yes," Holt replied. "Why?" "To make you listen." "To what?" "That you harbor living weapons? That your planet breeds monsters." Holt turned now, eyes locking with Vala's. "That you underestimate us. I advised for your induction. I fought to give Earth a seat at the Council. Then you were one of the few who took us seriously. But not seriously enough." The honey badger rose and took a step forward. Vala tensed. "It won't attack unless I order it," Holt said. "But it wants to." "Is that supposed to frighten me?" "No," Holt said. "It's supposed to teach you." Kiru appeared behind Vala, breath catching as he saw the beast again. "It's wounded." "It doesn't care," Holt said. "Pain is irrelevant to it." There's no line between survive and fight. It only moves forward. You can't control that, Kiru whispered. No one can. We don't. We just live alongside it. You spent centuries sterilizing threats. Earth did the opposite. We learned how to coexist with chaos, to thrive inside it. Vala lowered her weapon, slowly. So, this was never about fear. No, this was about respect. The room fell silent, except for the soft thrum of distant alarms and the low growl of the badger. Holt spoke again, quieter now. This was the smallest we had. The simplest. No psychic resistance. No venom. No armor. Just will. It killed to survive. Not for glory. Not for domination. Just because it could. Kira looked pale. How many more like it? Enough. Vala stepped forward. You could have started a war. Not a war, Holt said. A recalibration. Outside, on the station's hull, external sensors flickered back online. The station began to stabilize. The honey badger had returned to Holt's side, licking blood from its claws with mechanical calm. You think this makes you powerful, Vala said. No, Holt said. This makes us real. And now, so do you. Vala stared at her for a long moment, then nodded. Not out of agreement. Out of understanding. This wasn't diplomacy. It was survival, veiled in protocol. Lock it down, Vala said at last. Already done, Holt answered. It wanted a nap. The creature yawned, curled to Holt's feet, and closed its eyes. As Vala turned to leave, she paused at the threshold. Captain, she said, not looking back. What else have we failed to understand about your world? Holt didn't smile. She didn't gloat. We're not unique, she said. We're just comfortable in the dark. Vala left without another word, but the phrase echoed in her mind all the way to the command center. Comfortable in the dark. The council hadn't admitted a new species. They had opened the door to something ancient, brutal, and infinitely patient, and it had brought its monsters with it. The council was no longer laughing. Within 72 hours of the incident, over a dozen diplomatic vessels had quietly departed the station, rerouting to safer systems under the guise of logistical repositioning. The truth was simpler. They were afraid. Fear had settled in the bones of the Galactic Council like frost on ancient stone. Captain Reina Holt remained aboard. Her quarters, unlike the polished, sterile suites afforded to foreign dignitaries, resembled a bunker. Everything within arm's reach had purpose. Weapons, data cores, field kits, hardened rations. Holt had survived 5 planetary conflicts and a coup attempt before her 35th birthday. She didn't trust comfort. Comfort bred blindness. At the center of her room sat the badger. It was sleeping again, its body curled in on itself, rising and falling with shallow, slow breaths. The gash along its flank had closed. No medical nanites. No synthetic skin. Just regeneration through sheer biological refusal to die. Name it, came a voice from the doorway. Holt didn't turn. No. Dr. Kiru entered, hesitating as always when crossing the threshold. Everything else in the galaxy gets labeled. Not this. Kiru crouched nearby, not close enough to be within striking range. You knew it would test the vents. I suspected. Did you train it? It trained itself. Kiru shook his head slowly. It shouldn't have survived the relay breach. It passed through radiation levels that would liquefy the organs of most predators. It doesn't recognize limitations, Holt replied. Not physical, not psychological. Nothing about it makes sense. Then maybe the problem isn't the creature. She finally looked at him. Her eyes weren't cruel, but neither were they warm. They were the eyes of someone who had spent too long staring into things most people avoided. Monsters' violence, the long, cold calculus of survival. Kiru stood, pacing. They're planning a tribunal. You know that, don't you? Vala's trying to protect you, but the others want blood. They're not getting the Badger. No, he said. They want you. Holt didn't flinch. Let them try. In the core station's war room, Vala stood alone with holograms of every council representative arranged in a quiet semicircle. Each one bore the same expression, a strained civility stretched over barely concealed panic. Ambassador Tulloch, from the Wreth Dominion, leaned forward. His voice, as always, was honey over blades. This creature poses an existential risk. We all saw what it did to a fully armed escort team. This cannot be overlooked. She neutralized it, Vala replied evenly. Without incident. It followed her command. Until it doesn't, snapped another delegate. We've all seen what Earth's fauna are capable of. You think this is the worst of it? Vala didn't answer, because she didn't know. The humans were dangerous, but not in the way the others assumed. They didn't build planet killers or mind-shattering psi-weapons. They didn't need to. Their danger came from their refusal to break, to yield, to stop. Earth was a crucible. What emerged from it didn't always make logical sense, but made impact. She turned off the holograms and whispered to the silence. What did we invite in? That night, Holt stood in the central arboretum, where alien plants grew under artificial sunlight, where diplomats often came to pretend they still lived on living worlds. The Badger padded beside her, quiet now. Not tame, never tame, just watchful. You wanted us afraid, said a voice behind her. She didn't need to turn and know it was Vala. I wanted you to stop pretending, Holt replied. That's not the same. Vala stepped forward until they stood shoulder to shoulder, staring out at the engineered grove. You showed us chaos. No, I showed you honesty. You think your world is truth. I think your world's forgot what it cost to stay alive. The Badger sniffed at a red vine curling from stone planter, then sneezed violently. Holt gave it a sidelong glance. That's probably toxic. It doesn't seem to care. It usually doesn't. Vala crossed her arms. They'll push for expulsion. Possibly worse. I assumed as much. And you? Holt's voice turned sharp. I didn't come here to be liked. Earth didn't fight for this seat to be admired. We fought for it because we earned it. We crawled out of mud and plague and ash with no gods. No fleets, no saviors. Just stubborn blood and broken bones. Poetic, Vala said, though her voice lacked mockery. Literal, Holt replied. The Badger sat down abruptly and began to gnaw on its paw. You plan to fight back if they come for you? Vala asked. Are you coming for me? Vala didn't answer right away. Instead, she said, I was born on a moon colony. It was clean, peaceful, safe. And then the Cherokee Hive came. We weren't ready. We thought our treaties, our technology, our order made us untouchable. What happened? We survived. Barely. But not because of our systems. Because of one farmer with a mining laser and no fear of death. Holt said nothing. I saw the footage of your world, Vala continued. The crocodile, the orca, the insect swarms that take down elephants. You've been preparing for extinction since birth. It's not paranoia if something's always trying to kill you. They stood together in silence. Then Vala said, You need to control it. I don't think that's the lesson here. If you don't, they'll label your entire planet a biohazard zone. You'll lose everything you gained. Holt sighed. You think I want it loose? It's your leverage. No, it's a mirror. For them. For you. For us. Behind them, the Badger yawned and dropped onto its side, fast asleep, tongue lolling out. There's going to be a vote, Vala said finally. A trial, maybe, but I can stall. Why? Because I want to understand what scares me before I decide to kill it. Holt nodded, accepting that as the closest thing to trust she'd get. Later that night, somewhere in the lower decks, an engineer's scream echoed through the pipes. By the time the patrols arrived, the corridor was empty. Just a smear of blood and a small clump of fur, still warm. The tribunal chamber was a monolith of silence, thick with the unspoken. No banners adorned its walls. No cultural insignias or colors marked territory. It was neutral ground, but neutrality here felt more like a vacuum, sterile and surgical, designed not for truth but containment. Rows of delegates sat in ascending arcs, each veiled behind privacy screens that flickered in static shades of blue, eyes hidden but watching, always watching. At the center stood Captain Reina Holt, alone, unarmed by order, her uniform unadorned save for the silver earth crest over her left breast. Beneath her boots, the floor hummed faintly with the slow rotations of the station, a rhythm like a quiet countdown. The council recognizes Earth Delegate Captain Holt, the central voice intoned, filtered, and anonymous. This hearing is now in session. She said nothing at first. The silence lengthened into discomfort. She let it stretch. Then, calmly, "You're afraid." A murmur rustled like wind through tall grass. "You should be." A voice crackled to life. "That creature you smuggled aboard." "Wasn't smuggled," Holt interrupted. "It was declared. Your bioscanners flagged it. Your quarantine systems cleared it. Your inspectors signed off. It was never hidden. You just didn't pay attention." "And now, 6 dead," snapped another delegate, shrill with self-righteous anger. 7 if you count the technician this morning. He was warned to stay out of the lower deck alone. "Are you admitting responsibility?" "I'm acknowledging the inevitable." "You gave it space. It filled it, just like any species would. You unleashed a violent, uncontainable organism on a diplomatic station." "I unleashed nothing. I brought a creature you could have asked questions about, studied, even quarantined. Instead, you mocked it. Mocked us. You let your arrogance leave you blind." "Earth's aggression has consequences," another voice said coolly. "Earth's aggression kept it alive long enough to be invited here." There it was again, Holt's refusal to flinch. The same defiance she wore during planetary evacuations and planetary accusations. Her tone never rose. It didn't have to. She didn't come to plead. She came to remind. "You think this is about the Badger," she continued. "It's not. It never was. You're not scared because it killed. You're scared because it killed better than you ever could have expected." From the shadows beyond the central arena, a soft, dragging noise echoed. The guards stiffened, eyes darting. Every delegate leaned forward. The creature entered slowly. No handler, no leash. It walked in on its own terms. Blood still stained its muzzle, dried and darkened. Its shoulders rippled with motion, not with grace, but with a kind of predatory certainty. It paused just beside Holt and sat down. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Holt bent slightly, never breaking eye contact with the crowd. She whispered one word. "Down." The Badger obeyed. It curled beside her feet like a well-trained dog, eyes half-lidded, posture loose. But those who had seen it move before, who'd seen what it could do, recognized that relaxation for what it was, coiled potential. Vala entered from the upper gallery, walking with the steadiness of a woman who had made her choice already. No entourage, no weapons. She descended into the arena and stood across from Holt, separated by only a breath of space and everything the galaxy misunderstood. "Tell me one thing," Vala said, voice quiet but carrying. "If we let this continue, if we accept Earth's seat and yours, do we invite more of this?" Holt didn't hesitate. "You already have. And the consequences? You adapt, or you fall behind. That's the cost of evolution." Vala turned to the council. "I propose a motion." Gasps rippled through the gallery. Captain Holt's actions violated diplomatic protocol, but I believe her intent was neither hostile nor subversive. I believe Earth's inclusion still serves the Council's interests. On one condition. Holt's eyes narrowed slightly. "What condition?" that the creature remains. Not under guard, not in a cage, but free, on the station. As a reminder, a long silence followed, then murmurs, then unrest. You want that thing to roam free. You'd make it a symbol? I would, Vala said, because fear sharpens minds more than comfort ever could. The vote lasted 17 minutes. 11 abstained. 14 voted against. 17 voted in favor. The motion passed. Holt didn't smile. She just nodded, a simple, grave gesture. She reached down, tapped the creature's side twice. It rose, stretched, yawned, and padded toward the exit. No chains, no hesitation, just certainty. As it passed Vala, it stopped. She tensed, instinct flaring in her blood. It stared up at her with those flat black eyes. Then it licked her boot and left. Later, in the observation deck, Holt and Vala stood side by side, watching the stars turn. "They're going to call you a monster," Vala said. "Not the first time," Holt answered. "And the badger? It doesn't care what they call it. I'm not sure if that makes it more human or less." Holt considered that. It makes it honest. And we need more of that. Do you think this will hold? Until the next crisis. Or the next mistake. Vala nodded. "I hope we're ready." "We won't be," Holt said. "But we'll survive." Far below, in the maintenance tunnels, the honey badger patrolled in silence. It didn't understand politics or diplomacy. It understood corridors. Movement. Prey. Challenge. It hunted nothing now, but waited, because something always came eventually, and would be ready. In the end, the galaxy did not fall in fire or steel. It bent around a small, stubborn beast and the world that dared bring it to the table. Earth hadn't demanded fear. It had simply refused to be forgotten.